Welcome to the annual investor conference of 11-Bit Studios. I hope it's the last time that we meet digitally, by means of a video, and that in a year we'll get a chance to meet in person. Before we move on to other subjects and tell you something more about ourselves, about our plans, I would like to go back to a memorable story, and I think it will be interesting for you as a background to this presentation.
Myślę, że będzie dla Państwa ciekawa jako takie tło podczas oglądania tej prezentacji.
Around the end of last year, I had the opportunity to meet a representative of one of the major investors from New York. The conversation was very inspiring. There were many amazing questions and answers. This is an excellent long-term way of thinking about companies. However, one of the most remarkable questions was the following. Przemek, look, I have $300 million right here. Why can't I clone your company? Why is it impossible? I responded, and I know the answer. Naturally, I think this would be very hard. But I hope that following this presentation, you will also be able to grasp what this is all about. However, this is not the only question we have, and that we start this presentation with, because we, 11-Bit Studios, have recently asked ourselves the questions: how do we strengthen what we are? How do we lift who we are to a higher level? How do we strengthen our identity? When we started thinking about it, Patryk Grzeszczuk, one of our directors, came up with an interesting idea. Przemek, let's ask our partners. Let our partners tell us what they think about us. And that's what we did. Now let me quote one of the answers we got, the feedback from Guy Richards of Microsoft. 11-Bit Studios is one of the most special companies in the games industry. The company includes some of the most talented developers in the world at combining deep emotional themes alongside meaningful and thought-provoking gameplay. One of the things that makes 11-Bit Studios unique is both developing their own games and running a publishing team. Their content creation aligns with internal development philosophies. I think the fact partners like us, as well as their developers, keep returning to work with 11-Bit Studios speaks to their success and potential. The people at 11-Bit Studios are always honest. They seek feedback and further knowledge. They are some of our best friends in the industry who know how to mix business and fun. It sounds great, and I won't deny it. It was great to hear this opinion. At the same time, what's important for us is that, first of all, this was the opinion of our long-term partner. And the second thing is that this opinion is close to how we regard 11-Bit Studios ourselves. How do we regard ourselves? We're eager to tell you. I would like to start with the fact that we have our own product identity. What does that mean for us? It consists of 4 elements. The first one is meaningful knowledge and sensitivity. This is the knowledge that enables us to make thought-provoking games. The next element is concept-controlled development. Perhaps you know this already, but whenever we start thinking about a new project, we ask ourselves the questions: what story do we want to tell? What subject do we want to discuss? What idea is behind this particular game? Expertise and the uniqueness of emergent narration. This is the specialization we built during the course of work on our last two games. That is, This War of Mine and Frostpunk from internal development. It was there that we learned this very detailed specialization, which allows us to build narration not in the form of dialogues or cutscenes, but what happens in the game and later affects the player's thinking. We also have a growing community of players waiting for our new games. We can see that we are getting loads of emails. There is continuous contact with the community. These expectations have been built over many years by the games we have made so far. This is already a significant library. What this gives us will be discussed later in the presentation, but it's these games that reflect the company's identity. What is equally important is company identity. The identity of our company as an organization. It consists of the completeness of structures, which I'm about to show you. Financial and decision-making independence. This is something we have always cared about and what always accompanies all our strategic decisions. We really care about keeping our independence. We have an excellent team that we really care about. It's this team that has made the games we deliver to the players. Culture and identity. At the current pace of growth in 11-bit studios, we devote much time and effort to, on the one hand, retain our culture and identity, and on the other hand, we are more and more aware that in this area, we will have to evolve as a company. This is not a small company with 70 employees anymore, and we're thinking about a team of 200 to 300 people. At the same time, we still really want our people at 11-bit studios to feel like they did when the company was established. The last element is emerging manager awareness. This is equally important. While thinking about the ever-growing scale, it's becoming a crucial element. We need managers who have owner awareness, who feel they are important members of the company, and who develop this company with full devotion and awareness of who we are. Going back to the point concerning the completeness of our structures, to let you better understand our organization and see all these departments which contribute to our strong independence, we will gladly show you what it looks like. For a start, we have 3 development teams that were built over many years. Right now, they are making 3 games. There is the XDev department taking care of external projects. We naturally have a BizDev, business development department. We have marketing, PR, finance, and investor relations departments. We have a rapidly growing IT department and an administration department. We also have a new department, Team and Culture. This department is responsible for what is also important to us. What I told you at the beginning, the preservation and development of the identity of 11-bit studios. We also have a new department, Strategy and Innovation. This is the place that gives us time to think about the future of 11-bit studios. In 2020, the company recorded the highest revenues in its history. Thanks to 2 expansion packs for Frostpunk and further monetization of the company's portfolio, sales revenues reached over 87 million PLN, which means 22 PC growth compared to the previous year, as well as 6 PC growth compared to 2018. Operating profit reached over 40 million PLN. EBITDA reached over 51 million PLN, and finally net profit reached over 37 million PLN, which is similar to the level recorded in 2018. Since 2016, sales revenues have been growing at an average annual rate of 27 PC. In the same period, the operating profit increased at an average rate of 26 PC. The chart on the left also shows the company's revenues from publishing activity. In 2020, the revenues generated by publishing constituted almost 30 PC of total revenues. Since 2016, cash and equivalents have been growing at an average rate of 27 PC. At the end of 2020, cash and equivalents reached over 94 million PLN. Growing cash balance allows us to raise the amount invested in new projects every year. In 2020, we invested almost 30 million PLN. Just as Martin said, 2020 was our best year in history in terms of revenues. We're very proud of this result because 11-bit studios didn't launch any new games in 2020. This means that our sales strategy and product life cycle management strategy work great. Long-term, cautious and thought-out monetization has always been part of our strategy. However, we are not afraid of experiments and coming up with unique sales offers. An example of such an offer is 11-bit Studios' Bundle Madness, which was a pioneering offer as we transferred popular bundle mechanics to Steam. Our portfolio is already big enough to allow such moves, and the effect was definitely satisfying. Over a week, we sold over 1 million products, that is, games and expansion packs. We keep looking for additional business opportunities, as in the case of the ongoing Frostpunk giveaway on Epic Games Store. Such campaigns generate not only additional funds, but also huge visibility. We haven't forgotten classic game consoles either, and make sure that our catalog is widely available. We are also building a base of satisfied players. Soon we will launch the awaited expansion packs for Frostpunk on PlayStation and Xbox. We are also working on something completely new. We are porting This War of Mine Final Cut to PS5 and Xbox Series consoles. This is the latest version of the game currently available only on PC. We are continuing our strategy of making sure that we generate continuous cash flow, and at the same time, we are preparing for the upcoming releases from the business perspective. We are a successful company, a company that makes meaningful games, a company with our own identity and culture. We grew organically along with every new team member, with every new game, a bit like a plant. It sounds great. We really feel it was a huge success. So why do we need to think about getting stronger? We are thinking about it because we are ambitious, and our ambition is to grow while at the same time preserve our identity. The goal is to become the leader of the category of meaningful games within 5 to 10 years. This may sound unoriginal, but we really believe in it. We would like to tell you how we want to achieve this, what tools we need to achieve this ambitious goal. As you may remember, our strategic goal was to develop internal production in such a way that 3 teams could simultaneously produce unique games. Right now, we are exactly at this point. The Project 8 team now includes 40 people. It's supposed to have a total of 70 game developers. For us, Project 8 is an exceptionally ambitious venture. This is a new IP, a new setting, in a genre that is completely new for us, and with a strong focus on third-person perspective action and unique narration. On top of that, the project is aimed above all at console players. As you may know, this project was already started some time ago, and yes, it is a much greater challenge than originally assumed. Fortunately, I'm about to present good news concerning this and other projects. Project Dolly is a team of 20 people who came from the team working on This War of Mine. At the peak of development, 40 people will be working on the project. Again, for us, it's a completely new IP using experiences from the previous games through a unique concept. Project Eleanor is developed by our biggest team, which now has 60 game developers. Many of them were responsible for the development of Frostpunk. At the peak of development, 80 people will be working on the project. The goals are scale, quality, and uniqueness of solutions, which will make it possible to compete with the global leaders of the genre. Just as I mentioned earlier, the crucial aspect of our process is showing that we have a vision, why this particular game will be unique and why it will be ours. This is why pre-production is often a long and laborious process. Thus, we are proud to announce that over the past 2 months, all 3 of our internal projects passed the phase of internal tests and moved on to the next stage of production. Even though there are occasional speed bumps and we still have a lot of work, the scale of our operations is growing and speeding up. We want to invest a total of 110 million PLN in these 3 internal projects, and this is only the development budget. We want our ideas and concepts to achieve adequate scale and quality. In comparison, about 10 million PLN was invested in the development of Frostpunk. Therefore, we are looking at more than 3-fold growth. As you could expect when you hear about 3 internal projects, we will invest over 10 times more and believe this will bring truly unique and valuable games, along with business success. Why this strategy? We have big goals, but we want to achieve them in a stable and controlled way. That's why, just as in the case of any big project, we need to divide our plan into stages. Our long-term strategy is to achieve within 2 to 3 steps a position in which we will be able to create games uniquely complying with our identity, at a quality allowing us to compare ourselves with AAA games. We want to create games on a scale and with a market impact similar to Control or Civilization, but built on the strong foundations of our unique identity. To achieve this, we must build up our expertise in the area of meaningful games and develop key competences. Thus, apart from delivering excellent games, each of our teams has a special purpose. P8 is the team paving the way in the area of action games for consoles, with a strong and, in our case, meaningful narrative. The achievements of this team will enable us to develop in the direction of the scale and quality of games such as Control. P9 is a team driven by the power of experiments and ideas. These are unique ideas and a level up of our experiences. Its growth is based on unconventional concepts. P10 are the veterans of strategy games, and it's there that they are supposed to leave our imprint by delivering emergent systemic narration and tons of atmosphere in games, which are not usually associated with this. For them, the goal is the scale of games such as Civilization. However, what connects all of our games is one base: strong vision, unique concept, and the DNA of valuable experiences. To support the implementation of these strategic goals, we don't want to stop at the budget of projects themselves. That's why by the end of 2024, we plan to spend an additional 5 million PLN on support for the teams and production in key areas. First of all, through the systemization and manifestation of our unique expertise in the creation of valuable experiences, so that the growing team could fully take advantage of it. Second, by identifying the areas that are crucial for the quality of our games and supporting their development in teams. The third thing is going with the recruitment process beyond the scope of needs associated with the current projects and thinking about the perspective of the upcoming steps. To implement this strategy, we need top-quality instruments. That's why today we officially announced that the whole studio is working with the Unreal Engine. Yes, that means that works on the Liquid engine have been suspended. This way, we will reduce the technological and process risk, as we are focusing on the development of unique and diverse games and not technology. For 2 months, we have been actively evaluating Unreal Engine 5. Talks with Epic Games concerning special terms of cooperation are underway. For the moment, Liquid Engine is closed and generates no additional costs. We can already share the first effects of our work with the Unreal Engine now. The significance of the publishing business of 11-bit studios within the company's structure has been growing consistently for years. The business also contributes more and more to the company's financial results. The publisher successfully launched 5 games, most of them placed at the top of the list of bestsellers on Steam. By the end of 2020, a total of 10 million PLN had been invested in completed projects. The revenues from publishing activity for the same period reached 73 million PLN. We also paid out 49 million PLN in royalties. Currently, we have 3 publications in the pipeline, each of them substantially bigger than the titles we presented in the past, and each of them a 3D game. It's planned that almost 30 million PLN will be invested in these projects. Recently, we decided to withdraw from one of the projects to focus on other, more promising areas of our business. This growth will be achieved by means of activities in 3 key areas: building distinct IPs, growth of scale and quality, and improving procedures and structures. External titles published by the company will follow the creative spirit of 11-bit studios. Each of them will be based on an original, fresh concept, which will make us stand out from the competition and attract the attention of players. Our games are not just entertainment. That's why we will be paying much attention to the depth and message conveyed by these games. Creating meaningful type games like This War of Mine or Frostpunk is very hard, especially for specialists not from 11-bit studios. However, we are determined to follow this path and support our teams in the process of creating such games. Games from 11-bit studios also mean high quality and distinctive character. That's why we will be paying much attention to production value, which we define as high visual, audio quality, but also strong technological foundations. Finally, games from 11-bit studios are experiences built around immersive, interesting mechanics that are supported by other pillars of the game that make it possible to attract a broad group of players. A good combination of the above components, assessed from the perspective of business relevance, is our own concept for success. Such growth of our portfolio will help us to build publishing continuity from 2023. Thanks to this, we will boost our position on the market and our relationship with the recipients. It's also necessary to mention the diversification of risk offered by such a broad portfolio of projects. The growth of scale will enable even bolder investments in even more creative and revolutionary projects. Not only the number of projects, but also their scale will grow. Now we are focusing on complex 3D games with a higher multi-platform potential, and the upcoming productions will be even more advanced. A bigger budget will also allow us to cooperate with more renowned studios. To achieve these goals, we have already decided to inject 50 million PLN into our publishing business, and it is only the first of a series of investments in this business segment. Brand building and development are the backbone of our operations. This War of Mine and Frostpunk showed strength and potential. For a start, we focused on Frostpunk, which attracts the attention of players and business partners with the freshness and credibility of its world. We have prepared a brand development strategy for Frostpunk for the next 10 years. It will cover the main areas of our competence, namely the area of electronic entertainment and the related areas. You may have already heard about work on a Frostpunk board game. The project achieved huge success on Kickstarter, raising over 11 million PLN, which means we are now waiting impatiently for the launch that's already planned for this year. Work on a mobile version is already underway. NetEase, one of the biggest players in the gaming market, is responsible for this development. The company cooperates closely with our creative team. Frostpunk Mobile should be launched this year, and now we can share with you the first content presenting the progress of work on the game. For the first time, I can announce that we are working on an anthology of the Frostpunk universe. Jacek Dukaj is the artistic supervisor of the project, and I don't think I need to elaborate on his achievements. The anthology isn't a direct illustration of the game, but constitutes an extension of the universe, paving new paths. The plan prepared for Frostpunk is just a step in the development of our IPs. To enable efficient development, we have formed a team responsible for the brand management of our portfolio. You will soon have a chance to see the effects of the team's work. Talking about the dynamic development of the company and the long-term development of strong brands, we should also be doing it with external teams. We need long-term cooperation with these teams, and we need to eliminate the barriers between us. This will enable the flow of knowledge and mutual support in further development. To make it possible, we must consider and should invest capital in these teams to eliminate the barriers between us. What we find extremely inspiring is the Japanese Kiretsu model for company development, or group development. Finally, I'm proud to announce that talks with the first such company are already in progress.
Sporo tego.
That's a lot, but we believe this is all coherent, that all the things we told you about, like brands, ex-dev development, specialization, technology, our partners, all of these things come together in one point of our thinking about entertainment, as meaningful entertainment full of value.
Jako rozrywce minipulowej, pełnej wartości.
To sum up, we envision 11-bit studios as the leader of the category of meaningful games, building ever greater projects, heading for meaningful AAA games, expanding its portfolio through external development, thinking about building long-term brands, and a group of connected development teams.
oraz grupy powiązanych zespołów dev.
At the same time, we don't want to lose team identity. We want to develop it because we are our games, and this is the coherence of 11-bit studios. These are very ambitious long-term plans, but this meaningful entertainment category is emerging, and we will be its leader. In the coming years, we will be showing you the achievements on our path and carrying out all the points and goals ahead of us. For the moment, thank you very much for participating in the conference.
Bardzo dziękuję za udział w konferencji.
The marketing department has more to tell you.
Jeszcze dwa słowa od marketingu.
Finally, we need to answer one more question nobody mentioned before, and you have probably been thinking about. What about our new games? The answer isn't easy, but we have prepared materials which should satisfy your expectations in this respect. Enjoy watching the video. This is Paweł Michowski, and welcome to the Q&A session at our investor conference. We have here today Przemek Marszał, Chairman of the Management, Michał Drozdowski, and Grzegorz Michalski from Management, as well as Financial Director Martin Balawajda. Let's start. I can see that there are already many questions. The first one will be, when are we going to learn more about the games? Good morning, nice to meet you. Just as you may have noticed at our conference in August, we will be able to officially present one of our titles. However, as some of you may remember, some time ago we said that we wanted to find a new formula in which we could share more about our work with the financial markets. And we're looking for this model. Just as you saw, we tried to show you some sneak peeks, animated print screens from our current productions without revealing anything new. Now, getting back to facts, I think that August is the first moment for an official announcement of our game. We'll strive to announce at least one more title this year. However, as I'm saying, we're looking for a model in which we'll combine the requirements of marketing that have appropriate windows in announcements with your expectations to get in-depth information about our work as often as possible. So, when can we expect game releases, and what is the earliest date for a new game launch? Maybe I will address this question from a different perspective. As you know well, we have an equity program that ends in 2025. And according to our assumptions, 3 of our internal titles, fit in this program. We think, at least for now, we estimate, this is naturally an ambitious goal, and there will be about 6 or more games from external development. All of this has to happen in this whole period. However, we think there will be an accumulation of debuts around 2023. Mobile Frostpunk has been presented. What's going on with this project? We think you've already seen a bit in the video. Going deeper into details, as much as I know, alpha tests will start in July. We keep in touch with NetEase. We might have another call with NetEase next week. We're starting alpha in July, and I think that within the next 2 months, there will be beta. This year, we will have a soft launch, and if everything goes well, perhaps the game will be launched by the end of the year. When will the Frostpunk board game be released, and when will Dukai's anthology be published? How much income could these 2 projects generate? With regards to the board game, it was mentioned at the conference what Pavel said in the video. This game will be ready for release this year, as far as I know, and the distribution at Kickstarter should start at the beginning of next year. What's also important is that according to the estimates we made with our publishers, we can expect that there will be 50,000 copies in the initial distribution round, which is a big figure for board games. However, we shouldn't count on big money because board games are a different business, and the income won't be as significant as from our computer games. With regard to Dukai's anthology, there is no decision yet, and I don't know when it will be published. What is Pavel Dukai's actual role? He's the art director, we could say. He supervises the whole anthology. What I could add here is that Jacek is such a great personality that he's helping us develop the Frostpunk universe, and we're working hard with him in this area. A year ago, we said we planned to spend 60 to 65 million PLN on internal development. How much will this amount grow now? Indeed, the amount has grown, and now we plan to spend about 110 million PLN. Are we planning to port Frostpunk to Nintendo Switch? For the moment, we don't have such plans. Which publishing project has been terminated and why? Is it the Foxhole project? How much did the termination cost? Indeed, we were talking about the Foxhole project, and in the 4th quarter, we booked a write-off worth 125,000 PLN for the project. Would you like to add something? Oh, the question has disappeared. Is it Foxhole, and how much have we lost? Martin has already answered, yes, it was Foxhole. Moving on, could other publishing projects be cancelled? Let me put it this way. Twice a year, together with our auditor, we conduct impairment tests on all our projects, both publishing projects and internal projects, and the auditor always checks the spending on particular titles. What I also think is important, Michał, is the content-related part. Yes, the other projects are doing well, and we're satisfied with the pace of development and work. However, the risk of termination of a project at some point is always there. This is a kind of safeguard in case something unpredictable happens. But they're doing fine. What I think is important is that for both internal and external projects, we have this green-lighting rhythm, which means checking milestones from time to time if the quality is sufficient. This assessment is internal, but not just internal. What I mean is it's also evaluated by Martin and our business development, marketing, and PR departments. There are internal tests, but also external tests at later stages. And here I recall what Przemek said after the launch of Frostpunk. This was already over 2 years ago. Our final, if I remember well, external tests showed that the game would get an average rating of 8.6 or 8.8, something like that. You remember very well. I have a good memory. This was exactly the same as the average score we got on Metacritic from players. So I hope this process here is well defined and it works. Michał, question for you. The Council project is one of the 2 projects carried out together with Digital Sun. What is the shape of the other project? Yeah, this doesn't affect the other project at all. Our cooperation with Digital Sun is going pretty well, and the Foxhole project was cancelled following an amicable agreement on defined terms. Let's move on. How many publishing contracts do you want to sign by the end of the year? We presume that 1 or 2 new publishing contracts will be signed by the end of the year. What is the scale of projects that XDev will be investing in? There is a certain range here, but the investment mentioned here in the video means that we want to invest in projects of a bigger scale than before. We're talking here about projects the size of Frostpunk or greater. Everything will depend on the offers available on the market and what we manage to find. Let me add here, as you may have noticed, that in our internal projects, we focus on 3 teams and raising the scale of projects. XDev helps us develop a broader approach to our portfolio, to think not just about the scale, but also the number of projects, so that really, after 2023, we could start publishing about 3 titles in XDev every year. This is a huge challenge, and there is a lot of work. Another question: where will you find new publishing projects? The thing is, we are constantly searching. We are actively looking for projects, and at the same time, the searching team is growing. Additionally, raising funds for this business is opening up new channels for the acquisition of games. Why does the company plan to launch only 3 games per year? At the conference, it was said that the publishing department alone would launch 3 games a year, right? Generally, it was said over 3, so we assume 3 is the minimum target. Our budget isn't limitless, but it isn't small either. At the same time, as Michał said, it depends on the scale of projects we will sign. Bigger projects mean a lower number of projects. The smaller the scale, the more room for more projects. What's also important is that we care about quality. We don't want to turn into a publisher taking as much as possible, whether it's a hit or miss. All these projects require strong engagement, cooperation, assistance, and sometimes overcoming challenges together. That's why I think 3 projects is an ambitious goal. This is in line with the philosophy outlined by Marek and Przemek. Moving on, you plan to spend 50 million PLN on new external development projects. How much time do you need to spend this money? The budget we are talking about is the budget for the period from 2021 to 2024, if I remember correctly. 2023. 2023, and this is not the budget for the implementation of these projects, but for making it possible to sign agreements with developers and finance games in this period. However, these games will surely cost us even more. This is also related to our cash flow forecasts, showing that these expenses will be substantially higher in the coming years. Martin, a question for you. Where do you want to raise money for external development? Above all, from our own cash flow, from our own funds. Right, and when will you announce a game from external development? You promised. Let me just comment on what Martin said concerning ex-dev investments. As Martin said, we are looking at our cash flow, and we're envisioning a scenario in which everything comes from cash flow. But already now we have made a decision internally that if the cash flow is insufficient, we're ready as a company to take advantage of some kind of securities. Correct me if I'm wrong, Martin. Bridge financing. Yes, yes. We feel that we are strong and believe in what we do enough to do so. We also know our cash flow to not have any problems with that. Let's go back to the other question. When are we going to announce a new game from external development? Is it going to be in 2021? Marek is very cautious with regard to announcements concerning new projects. Anyway, we all are because we are aware of the problems arising during the implementation of projects. Here, it will probably be next year before talking about the announcement of the first game. Indeed, it was promised that there would be an announcement in 2021, but that was related to problems with the Foxhole project. Are you planning to acquire any studios? Grzegorz, a question for you. We do have such plans, but we also have to find willing partners. That's why talks are in progress, and we have to work out a model in which it can happen. We're looking for strong synergies so that cooperation can build both our value and the value of potential investment targets. I need to comment on this. In my opinion, the word acquisition isn't entirely accurate here. We don't want to take over, as it's not really our concept. We are looking for a connection, as we want these teams to remain the owners. We don't want to barge in. We just want these teams to work hard towards our common goals. This is exactly the Keiretsu model. I was about to say that. You should read about this model as it reflects very well what we're planning. Does Unreal mean you have cancelled your own engine? Just as Kuba Stokalski said, work on the engine has been discontinued for the time being. Martin, a question for you. Does it mean the risk of write-offs? The development was supported by EU subsidies. The first write-off, amounting to 872,000 PLN, was booked already in the fourth quarter of 2020, and further write-offs were 322,000 PLN, were booked in January and February this year. Can the closure of the engine and the Foxhole project affect the results also this year? The write-offs have already been fully booked. Which means not. How many external and internal games do you plan to launch within the duration of the current incentive plan? I think we already have answered this question. And I can say again, naturally our 3 internal games, and we think, even though this is very ambitious, we could launch 6 to 9 external games in this period. When is the company going to start paying dividends? CDP, 10 Square Games, Playway, PCF are paying out profits to their shareholders. What about dividends? I can also answer this question. As you can see, we are still, as we feel, in a period of dynamic growth. And we need money for our new ventures and further growth of 11-bit studios. We already need to think about the shape of the group. We think that for you, for shareholders, a model in which the value of your shares keeps growing is at least as valuable as dividends, and we imagine that it is even much better. Now, this is a tricky question, in my opinion. What results can we expect in the coming 2 years, when there will be no releases? Will the company be making losses and burning cash? Let me put it this way. We are not going to publish forecasts for the nearest future. But indeed, as you have seen in the presentation, as Przemek said, we will be investing a lot in the coming years. Yes, but still our revenues allow us to remain profitable, as shown by last year, and the results for the first quarter of this year. Exactly. The results for 2020 were substantially better than assumed at the beginning of that year. That's right. We are sharing profits by building value. We aren't burning cash, and we're investing. This essentially concerns all departments. But how is recruitment going? You have ambitious plans, so how do you want to achieve them? As far as I know, we currently have 20 ongoing recruitments, and we won't pretend it's going great. No. There are easy recruitments, and there are much harder recruitments, and this simply takes time. The recruitment team is growing, and we're implementing new solutions. At the same time, what I find great is what can be seen with every new person. I have this opportunity, which I enjoy very much, to talk to every new person after 2 to 3 weeks. We have our identity, as we tried to show you in the video. The idea behind 11-bit studios, and clearly the people who come here can see it, and even after these 2 to 3 weeks, pay attention to it. They know that it's there, and that it's not just a marketing story. This is one of our advantages in our talks with candidates. This is a company built on a certain idea. This idea is coherent, not just on the level of games, but in the way we build our team, how we talk to people, build trust, transparency. It requires a lot of work, but we are really proud of it. This question concerns organization. How is COVID affecting the team's work? I can try to tell you something about it. This is not a natural situation for 11-bit studios. And while we managed to arrange all these issues associated with production and organization pretty well, we really work well with remote solutions. However, we can see that this situation affects the process of building team culture, how we are losing some of the mechanisms of cohesion between teams. And here a lot of work is needed. We hope to return to the office soon. But as I can see on the screen, there will be another question. Are you going back to the office? Are we going back? We're currently waiting for vaccinations. Honestly, here at 11-bit Studios, there has been no pressure to make people return to the office. We're still working on a model where those who prefer to work from home can work from home. We're waiting for vaccinations. I personally would like everybody to return to the office. However, we've learned a lot from COVID, and we can see that the market has changed, that work possibilities have changed, and we're discussing it intensively. I think training courses should end in June. This summer, we'll want to answer the question about the shape of 11-bit studios after COVID, whether we're coming back and if we're coming back, then what the model will be. We don't have these answers yet, so just give us more time. Now for something completely different. Could you elaborate on the references to the Civilization series made in the presentation? Absolutely not. Oh, well, let me put it a different way. We won't elaborate on the subject or explain the mystery behind it, but it shows well the idea of the specialization we want to develop. It shows two different genres, which show that specialization paths can concern various subjects, can build our expertise and our advantage, and this is where we want to go. Yes, and Civilization is also an example of, you see, I love our brands. I love Frostpunk, and I know many players already know it. But definitely more players know Civilization and what it managed to achieve. It is also this brand perception and scale that we're talking about, not necessarily about the exact type of game. Which publishing project is most advanced? This is a tricky question, a bit like, which title will be published first? And we don't want to answer that question. We'll just say that they're at a similar level of progress. And they are quite advanced. Yes, what is great and what Marek has already talked about is maybe you remember our previous games. I hope yes. You know, Moonlighter, Children of Mortar, and our previous games. It was mostly 2D pixel art, beautiful games, but they had a different production value. All our current games are full 3D games. I can reveal right now that 2 of these games are built on Unreal Engine. One is built on Unity, and that's a different scale, and we love it. The next question concerns our forecasts. What potential do you see in internal productions, and what could be the return on the invested 110 million PLN? Concerning the second part of the question, that is, the scale of return on the invested capital, we don't really share that kind of information, but we do count on a healthy profit. We have historical data. You can see the return on investment in case of success. This war of mine, taking into consideration the expansion packs, cost around 10 million PLN, and revenues from the game exceeded 100 million PLN. Will publishing games for all platforms at the same time become a standard practice? We would like this to be a standard practice in the case of internal projects. Here, the switch to Unreal also helps us a lot, as it solves many problems with regard to support for consoles. With regards to external projects, it's hard to promise that, as it depends on the team, its capacity and the characteristics of a project. It may be set up in such a way that it will be hard to prepare it for all platforms. Still, for many reasons, we will be striving to achieve this. Yes, because we really like this model because it facilitates many things. It eliminates the risk of having to look for external studios to port the game. It also facilitates communication. Now, this will be a long question. The plans are promising, but looking at history, plans are often delayed. For example, the work on Project 8 began years ago, but if I understand well, this is what someone wrote. The pre-production stage has only just been concluded. I believe in the competencies of 11-bit studios, but why should I believe that from now on? The company will keep up with the schedule. Well, this was already explained before, as development is a difficult cycle, and eventually quality is most important and it can take more time. Would you like to add something? If I may add something here, indeed, with regards to Project 8, at the beginning, the scale of our ambitions was really high, and it still is. We can see that now, and we know we told you about the project some time ago, but we have a really strategic approach to this project, as you could see in the video. This team is supposed to deliver an excellent game, and is really doing it. This is a game based on an idea, a completely new genre for us with completely new recipients. For this reason, the game is supposed to build the first pillar for future work on games with a scale and quality of those developed by Remedy, like Control. This is a long-term process, and there could be further delays, so let's not be too optimistic. The process is going ahead, and there is a great team. They've reached another milestone, and the project has been greenlit. We know what game we are making, and we have a cool engine. This is also one of the things that delayed us a bit, as we have been trying to build the game on our own engine. Now we have Unreal, and we're building competencies in it. You already had a chance to see that, so we have already secured many things, and we just know it will be a huge success.
Naprawdę zaczynamy budować w nim kompetencje, mieli Państwo to już zobaczyć okazję, więc sporo rzeczy jest już zabezpieczonych z naszej strony i głęboko wierzymy, że to się po prostu zarąbiście uda.
What I think is an important factor that has changed over recent years is that we have managed to form these 3 autonomous teams. We have managed to make these teams independent and responsible for the decision-making, planning, and budgeting of their own projects. They are thus both autonomous and responsible, And the whole team of Project 8 is the only team that hasn't emerged from our tradition of the formation of teams managed by Przemek and myself. Both the team responsible for This War of Mine and the Frostpunk team were teams we built and managed for a long time. Now we're moving towards building teams without the participation of the company's founders and management. They are supposed to be independent. This is an important factor in the development of the company, as it enables raising the scale of business. Przemek and I won't be a bottleneck anymore. We hope that we have already concluded the stage of transition and maturity. Yes, because this stage started just before work on Frostpunk ended, a bit sooner or later. In my opinion, it was a very important stage. This is the point where an organization gears up, and this is a challenging moment for many organizations. When we look at both Polish and foreign studios, there are studios that are really big, but are still unable to work on a few games at the same time. This is an extremely challenging task. I need to make it clear. It was a very hard task for us, which I think has already been completed to a large extent. We could say we're on the bright side already. There was a lot of work on the way. I think it's also extremely important that we're not trying to move capacity from project to project, but we're trying to run these projects simultaneously and to make sure they are independent and separated. This gives a strong diversification of risk, as it means problems in one project won't lead to a general crash, as the projects are always located in their departments. Another question: which project does the teaser at the end of the video refer to? Well, we can't say because everything will be revealed on August the 12th, so please wait for that day. When will there be an announcement concerning cooperation with Fool's Theory? I don't really understand the question. Well, we have announced we're making a game together, so please wait for more details. Well, I guess it's a bit what Michał said. This is an external development team, and Marek is quite secretive. I admit I was hoping that you would get something already this year, an announcement, but it may be impossible, so it's probably next year. Still, we don't rule out this year. Are there any plans for a multiplayer option in Project 8? Yes. I can't say. Well, this is a question where if we talked about Unreal, I think this question, there has been a misunderstanding. The point is that the project on Unity was an external development project. Right. I'll read it if someone missed it. If one project is based on Unity and the company says it will be using only Unreal, will we have to move the project from Unity to Unreal? Michał, for you. The point is that in the case of Unity, external projects were involved. Projects based on the preferred engines, as studios come with games that have already been developed to some extent. Meanwhile, Unreal concerns only our internal projects. Yes, but what's interesting here is that, as you know, until recently we worked with Liquid and didn't have any experience with Unreal. Right now, I think that in a few years, we'll be able to support external studios working with Unreal. And at the same time, these studios can help us right now. We had no synergy in cooperating between engines. The next question concerns publishing contracts, which Michał already talked about, so I'll move on to the next one. Will you have an individual contract for the Unreal Engine? This contract is being finalized. It was mentioned in the conference that, yes, there is an agreement. Yes, I think we can say that we'll have our individual contract, but the terms, as the contract hasn't been signed yet, the terms are obviously not clear yet. The fact that we're developing 3 games on the basis of this engine is also a very important element. I'll give you some insight. We plan to say something more about this contract, but haven't managed to sign it yet, because it's an excellent agreement, and I think we will have a lot to talk about. Another question is about the teaser, so we already answered. What I could tell you about the teaser is that the teaser shown at the conference is P8, P9, and P10. I think we can disclose the fact that at the conference you were shown materials from P8, as well as P9 and P10. And let's leave it there. Excellent. So this will be the last question. Will NetEase also take care of the distribution of Frostpunk on typically Chinese app stores like Tencent, Huawei, Vivo, etc.? No, this is not possible. We can't enter these stores due to... No, but NetEase is taking care of the distribution of Frostpunk. I understand this doesn't concern our Frostpunk, but mobile Frostpunk. Oh, okay, yes. Yes, NetEase has a very broad distribution network and will be using it. This was the last question, so thank you and see you at the next conference. We really hope we will meet in person next time. You're invited.
Już zapraszamy.
Dzięki.
Dziękujemy.
Dziękujemy.